How to apply PTFE like a plumbing pro. This is Plumbing Basics. Teflon tape, or PTFE, polytetrafluoroethylene. Now, that's a big word for a plumber, so we're gonna call it Teflon tape. I'm gonna show you how to put this on and how to put it on the right way, but first I wanna tell you a little bit about it. There's a lot of information out there that says you have to use yellow for gas. You have to use white for PVC, I've even heard that. Or the blue is really just for screw pipe. I've gone to the websites and I've looked at the information. If you can find a code or find it in the code that tells me you have to use yellow for natural gas, please do, because I can't find it. But if you go to the manufacturer's recommendation for some of these, it says, look, it's fine to use it for natural gas. Some of this we've been using for natural gas for years, long before the yellow and blue and red and all the other stuff came out. What's the purpose of it? What it does is it actually helps seal the joint, meaning once you screw threads on here, if you don't have anything on here, chances are it's gonna leak. But using Teflon tape the right way and putting it on the right way and putting the right amount on can help make sure that you don't have that problem. Teflon tape is cut to specific widths, meaning there may be 1/2 inch, there may be 3/4. I've got some of each, and I want to show you why that I choose what I choose. If I've got just a roll of 1/2 inch, as you can see there, it doesn't cover all my threads. That's fine, it doesn't have to. I could just put a couple of extra wraps around to make sure it covers everything. Or I could go 3/4 inch, and 3/4 inch pretty much covers everything that I need to do. What you want to do is, first of all, you want to make sure you have good clean threads. Now, I keep an old fitting brush because I like to just go through, brush everything off. I want to make sure there's not any oxidation on there. There's not anything that's dried on there that could be a problem. And I want to make sure I've got good clean threads. If this was a brand new piece of pipe, I may want to wipe it down. I may even need to spray something on it because it could have an oil or a coating or something like that on there. But I'd want to wipe it down. I actually worked for an engineer at a big industrial plant. And what he wanted us to do was put Teflon tape on and then put pipe dope on. And actually for a while he even wanted pipe dope, then tape, then pipe dope. What I've got down to, what I normally do most of the time, and I know some of y'all are gonna bust my tail about it, I actually use Teflon tape and then I use the Teflon tape pipe dope on the outside of it. And I've gotta tell you, the engineers that I worked with out in this industrial plant, that was their preferred way to do it. And I'm telling you, we really didn't have a lot of leaks. I'm gonna show you the way that I do it. And we'll put a link down here where you can go to some of these manufacturers' information sheets. That way you can see the information that I saw. Because around here, the code says, do it per the manufacturer's recommendations. And that's what we're doing. I've already got the threads good and clean. The inside of the pipe is already reamed. This nipple is ready to go. Now it's an old used nipple. The other end has old Teflon tape on it. And that's fine. I'm not worried about that now. I just want to show you what we're doing. But whenever I get started, the things that I want to remember, depending on how big it is, I normally try to go 3/4 inch roll. Now there are some things that I'll use the 1/2 inch for, but I like covering the threads with as minimal amount of wraps as possible. This particular manufacturer recommends 2 to 3 wraps. I go at least 3. And stay till the end and I'll tell you why at times I may go 4 or 5 depending on the pipe. What I normally do is unroll a little bit and lay it out, and I like starting at the back. The reason being, I want to roll it down to where the end is in the front, so as soon as that fitting starts coming on, it's holding the tape. It is not pushing it out because I'm turning the other direction, and it's got the end right there where it can get a hold of it. So I start down here and I go clockwise because that's the way the fitting is going to go. If this was turning backwards, I'd go the other way with it. The reason being, when I put that fitting on, I do not want it to start unraveling the tape. So I put it on and I hold it somewhere. So right here, I'm going to start right about the top just so you can see it. And I'm going to move my finger over here and hold it because once I get one full wrap around, it is now on top of it and holding it down. So that way, whenever I come around, I can start working my way to the front and I'm pulling it tight. See how you can see the threads in there? Now, as I get down to my last wrap, what I want to remember is not to go over the very end of the threads. The reason being, I don't want anything down here to get inside. I went around and as you can see, the very tip of the threads, I did not put anything there. Now the reason being, like I said, once I start turning that, I don't want any of this to get cut and end up inside of here. Think about the orifices on some of these appliances. If a piece of Teflon tape gets in there and clogs that up, it could literally mess things up. So I don't want to have problems that I have to come back and fight later. So I start at the back, work to the front, 3 wraps, and then as you saw, hold it, pull it, and it pulls taut and gives me a nice neat cut. The good thing about this stuff, if you go read the manufacturer's recommendation, it tells you exactly what different systems it can be used on. Make sure you know that before you start doing anything. Okay, so just to cover the few different things that I talked about, and then I'll tell you why you may want to use more. Number 1, choose the tape that you're comfortable with. It may be 1/2 inch, it may be 3/4. Use what's best for you. Number 2, clean the threads. Not just the male threads, but maybe the female threads. You never know where those fittings have been, and any impurities in there, any dust, any oils, anything like that can cause you to have a leak, and you don't want that to happen. Number 3, wrap the tape around the male thread and make sure you go in the direction that the fitting's gonna turn. This is gonna help your tape stay in place, and it's gonna help you not have leaks. Remember, when you wrap it, keep it tight. Keep pulling on it. That way you can see that this tape actually pulls down into the threads. It's gonna help give you a better joint. Remember, make sure at the end you do not overlap the end of the pipe. As you can see, I keep my tape back just about a thread. That way when that fitting goes on there, it's gonna come over the tape, but it's not gonna allow it to push any Teflon up inside there. What's my other big tip? If these threads looked bad, now sometimes we get in a position, I'm a residential repair plumber. I own a residential service company. And sometimes you'll have a nipple maybe sticking out of the wall, sticking out of the concrete underneath. Don't get me wrong, I know it's not always supposed to be like that, but I have seen it. But if you've got a thread that you cannot get to and that thread doesn't look good, I would go 4 or 5 wraps. You never know what you're gonna need, and that extra Teflon may be enough to keep you from having a leak. If you've done repairs before and you've ran into things like this, let me know, what did you do? What did you do different? And if you use a particular type tape for a particular installation, do me a favor. Put a link in here and let me know where you found it written that it has to be that way. And I don't just mean what one of the plumbers you worked with told you. Where did you find it written? What does the code say? What does the manufacturer say? What are their recommendations? Because that is how we're supposed to install things. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you learned how to put Teflon tape on the right way. It's nothing serious, it's nothing hard, but doing it the right way can lead to installing it without having any leaks. I'm Roger Wakefield, Lead AP, the expert plumber. I'll see you in the next video if you don't get flushed.